Right, Ar-Rad, or chapter 13, starts with saying that Al-Kitab is Al-Haq. Alif Lam Ra, then it says Al-Kitab is Al-Haq. Al-Haq is almost the central theme of this chapter. This chapter is definitely not the twin of the previous chapter, chapter Yusuf, but we can see that there are some connected features, and if you see it as perhaps a supplement to not just chapter Yusuf but also Hud and Yunus, so chapters 10 to 13 being a set, being supplemented by Ar-Rad, perhaps you can see a thematic relation there. Natural metaphors are mentioned. There are lots of natural metaphors. Why does Allah tell us about nature and the skies and the earth and the gardens and the tracks? Well, to me, I think if we understand these words, because the same words are used in the human dimension. For example, the term inzal or descent is used for the rain as well as for the descent of revelation. So it's the same process being used. So if we map these natural metaphors back to the human domain, we can get a lucid picture of what Allah is trying to, of what Allah is telling us in the Quran. Verse 11 of Ar-Rad talks about the guardians who guard us. So the famous verse which says that you will not change anything unless you change what is in your soul is actually this verse. So it shows us that our souls is the fulcrum on which change happens. So if our souls are powerful enough, change can happen. Next, verse 13, it talks about the tasbih, or of the thunder. Tasbih is a state in which you are harmoniously working with the universal elements towards Allah. So the malaika or angels do tasbih. Human beings are to do tasbih. We'll come to the tasbih block towards the end of Ramadan actually. Verse 14, Al-Haq is mentioned again. This time is Da'watul Haq, or the call of Al-Haq. So Allah is saying that for your call, your invocation to be Al-Haq, or the truth, it has to be to Allah. Verse 15 talks about nature. Nature and the submission or sujood to Allah. So here again, nature is being related onto the human being, so we understand that whatever we do is actually a natural process which has been humanized to fit our being. One of the most outstanding verses to me is verse 17 of chapter 13, when Allah says, He sends down water from the skies, and the channels flow each according to its measure. But the torrent bears away the foam that mounts up to the surface. Even so, from that which they heat in the fire to make ornaments and or utensils therewith, there is scum likewise. Now, pay attention to this. It says, thus Allah shows the parables of truth and falsehood. So al-haq and batil. For the scum which disappears, that scum which disappears like forth cast out, while that which is good for mankind remains on the earth. So Allah is saying here that al-haq is something which remains and it is good for mankind. For mankind here, it's not for believers, not for Bani Israel, for mankind. So here we can see, understand the nature of al-haq. I think chapter 13 here could be said to be an expounding of what al-haq is. So next the chapter moves towards relating this to the covenant with Allah and about belief and disbelief. But it ends in exactly the same way as chapter Yusuf, where it talks about the message and the messenger. And the messengers are confronted with those who reject them. For example, verse 38 says, we sent messengers before you and appointed for them wives and children. And it was never the part of a messenger to bring a sign except as God permitted. For each period is a book, and Allah thus blot or confirm what He pleased. With Him is the mother of the book. So here we can see the mechanics of messengership. So messengership should be related with the concept of al-haq here. So the end of the chapter says that Allah is the witness. Allah is enough as a witness for those who say you are not a messenger. And basically that's how the chapter ends. And here we right. So there we have it, chapters 12 and 13. Again, we see that there is a pattern of themes going on. Perhaps it's not so clear at the moment, but inshallah once we expound further on the passages and we try to zoom in on what each passage says, we can then see a more coherent argument. Many thanks again for your viewership. Stay tuned for chapters 14 and 15 tomorrow. Thank you very much. Bye.